Blaine "Stache" Stoughton was a feared sniper and goal-scoring machine for the Whalers from 1978 to 1983. He amazed Whalers fans with his uncanny knack of getting open in the slot and stashing the puck in the back of the net. Stoughton led the NHL with 56 goals in 1979-80 and added 44 assists to reach the 100-point plateau. He hit the 50-goal mark again 2 years later. An NHL All-Star in 1982, Stoughton averaged 45 goals per season in his Whalers career.
From Cincinnati, Ohio, this is the Stache Radio Show with your host, Blaine the Stache Stoughton.
I'm pleased to welcome to the Stache Radio Show today one of my good friends, Tuer. Welcome to the show, Al.
Thanks, Blaine.
NHL's careers, obviously, they come to an end, and I know I wasn't ready for it, but what has your life been since you retired from hockey?
I've been in hockey. I've been lucky enough to coach in a couple of different levels. I coached in the Western Hockey League for 6 years, and I coached in the old Western Pro League with you there for a year in Austin, and since then, I've been scouting 10 years with the Calgary Flames, and now this is my 4th year with the Florida Panthers. So I've managed to stick in it, and it's been fun. Hockey's been a real good life for me.
In your scouting travels, I assume that you run into old teammates and, of course, probably a few enemies too.
Yeah. Lots of them. I was just in L.A. I played in L.A. for a year, and I ran into a few guys I played with. Daryl Evans does the radio out there right now. Charlie Simmer was out there. He does the TV for the Calgary Flames. A lot of guys are still in it. And it's good to see them from time to time, get a chance to bullshit a bit.
You're scouting for the Panthers. Where exactly are they now, and where do you see them heading in the next 3 or 4 years in terms of the depth, starting from the East Coast League, the American League, and obviously the NHL?
Yeah, we've got a number of early draft picks that are just starting out now. Nick Bustad just came in this year from Minnesota. Got Drew Shore there now. A number of kids. Got the Barkov kid. We took 2nd overall last year from Finland. So they're just kind of making their way into the lineup now. And, I would think we'll make some strides the next year or two. We had a real good year 2 years ago. We won the division. Then last year we kind of stumbled out of the gate with the shortened season, and we just couldn't get any traction, I guess. But I think we're close. We've got might have a move or two to make, shuffle the deck a bit. We're stumbling right now, but I think we'll be fine. And we've got players in Cincinnati. We've got players in San Antonio, some kids. I guess the cupboard's full. We just got to get them into the lineup.
Obviously, I haven't played for a long time, but there was a big difference in the good teams and the bad teams when I played, probably 25, sometimes 30 points between the Montreal Canadiens and the Hartford Whalers. But the game now, it's tough to win, and it's tough to be competitive every year. I don't watch that much hockey anymore, but I watch a couple of games a week, and there's a very little difference, I think, in the skill level between the two teams. The 8 seed could beat the 1 seed any night of the week.
Execution, probably, preparation, all those little things come into play. Maturity, some teams are, just not quite ready to win. They've got some skill, they've got some real good talent, but it's young, and sacrifice and that type of thing. Some teams have learned how to do it, and some teams haven't, and that's probably the difference, night to night. It's a lot has to do with the maturity of the teams.
Yeah. It seems to me, especially in the playoffs, the goaltender it's a bigger issue than it was when I played. I know when LA won it 2 years ago, that guy was unbeatable, it seemed like.
Yeah, Quick was tremendous. And last year, I think last year in the playoffs he was very good, but he wasn't lights out. And 2 years ago he was lights out. And their team, after Daryl Sutter got there about the midway point, they gained some focus, and they learned how to win. They just took that next step, and a big part of it too was the goalie. And you're only as good as the guy between the pipes, and if he's on fire, you got a good chance to win.
Yeah. Thanks, Al. We got to take a 30-second break, and we'll be right back with Al Tuer.
In late 2010, I entered a BMX dirt jumping contest and took a hard slam. And I'd done the trick 1,000 times. I suffered a traumatic brain injury. Now, I'm not telling you not to send it, not to go out there and get it done. But what I am saying is learn about brain injury and how to prevent it. Our sport is cool enough. You can wear a helmet. It's your brain. It's your future. You should know what's up.
Thanks, Al. A couple other questions I'd like to focus on today. NHL issues. It seems the game has changed a lot since we played. And injuries, concussions, it seems to be very prevalent this day and age in hockey. I just want to get your thoughts on where you think these issues are going to go. Are they going to clamp down on fighting and slashing and head hits? I noticed in NHL and the NFL, every time I watch ESPN or the hockey show, the topic on the shows are not about good plays, about the great players we have in this game. It's always about injuries and suspensions. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the concussion situation in the NHL, it doesn't seem to be a day go by where somebody's not injured or out of the lineup with a concussion. And player safety is real important. And so I think they're taking steps to, minimize that. I don't know, back in the day, I'm sure there was a lot more concussions, but they didn't know about them. They didn't know how to treat them. Kids would have headaches or be out of the lineup for a couple of games max. Now they've got the the padded room for them to go to after they get the hit, and I sometimes wonder, if it's overboard, but I guess the most important thing is the player's safety, and they're taking care of those guys. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's blown out of proportion too. The media gets involved in it and kind of blows things out of proportion. But it is an important issue for sure.
Yeah, I just think the NHL is they've got themselves boxed into a situation where they're not really sure what to do either. So day by day, week by week, I think they're searching for the answers, and unfortunately, it's trial by error.
It is for sure trial by error, and I don't see as much fighting in hockey as there was certainly back when we played, Blaine. But it's the thing that gets highlighted, and that you talk to people and they say, "Well, I don't go to hockey because there's fighting." Well, I go to 120 hockey games a year, and I probably don't see 20 fights. Like, I really don't. So I don't think it's. I think it's more the physical contact. I think it's more, the hits from behind and teaching players not to turn into checks. I saw more and more defensemen, they're turning into a check and they take a hit and they can't protect themselves. Where when we played, if we turned into a check, we got back to the bench and our coach gave us the gears for doing that. You have to protect yourself. So a lot of that is on the guys that are getting hit as well. They have to learn to take care of themselves that way.
Yeah, it seems like some of the players, they're using that as a tool to protect the puck, and then consequently, of course, they're going to get hit from behind. If I see you coming, I know the rules. Just before you get to me, I turn your back to me. You're going 30 miles an hour, and you can't stop in time. So I don't know. There's a gray area there that it's a challenge for the NHL to figure out.
And you can't hold a player up anymore. Like back in the day, the puck would get dumped in, and your offside defenseman would come across and pick up the guy that was forechecking you and put a stick on him and slow him down. Now if you put a stick on a player, you impede his progress, you're in the box for interference. So you can't protect your teammate that way anymore. So it's kind of a catch-22. You want to have the speed of the game, you want to have that impact and that physical play, but then players can't protect themselves, and teammates can't protect their teammates.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. When I played junior hockey, I was a pretty good player, so I had the puck most of the time. So I was definitely a defensive liability. But when I went to Pittsburgh training camp, that was the very first thing that coach told me. When that guy, you're back checking, he skates by you. You don't shake his hand and let him go by it. You get your stick in his ribs and hold him up.
Sure.
And obviously now I'd be in the penalty box. So yeah, and then those guys are flying in there because they're not held up, and then there goes your injuries.
Yeah. I was at a game the other night, and in Colorado, and the McLeod boy hit Cronwall. And Cronwall, it was a hard hit, but it was relatively clean check. Cronwall turned into it, and his body was low, his head was about the dashboard level, and as a result, he got a concussion, and it was a tough play, and McLeod was suspended. So it's hard to police it. It's after the fact they can come in and regulate it to some degree, but I think part of them trying to improve the game, they've put some of the players at risk.
Absolutely. Al, thanks. We'll take a 30-second break, and then we'll talk to Al about his illustrious NHL career.
We have a job to do out here today.
To be a winning team, you have to work like a winning team.
My team depends on me.
And my team is 50,000 strong. Looks like a lot of work's going into this.
This is what it feels like to be part of a team.
A winning team.
The action team.
Get in on the action at actionteam.org. Are you in?
Yes, we're back with Al Tuer. And Al, I know you had a brief NHL career, but did that experience playing in the NHL have an impact on the rest of your hockey career?
Yeah, I did. I played, I guess I signed with 4 NHL teams, and I played a few games for 3 of them. I had a cup of coffee. I played hard enough that I was a call-up guy, let's say. And I played the majority of a season in Los Angeles. Then I got picked up by Edmonton as a free agent, and then I got picked up in the waiver draft by Minnesota, and then I signed as a free agent with Hartford, and I played for all their farm teams, obviously. So hockey's been in my blood. You know as well as I do. You grew up in Western Canada, and it's almost a religion. You wake up in the morning and hockey's on your mind, and you play hockey on the way to school, you play hockey on the way back from school, and usually at school you're talking about hockey, not thinking about school. So, it's been a big part of my life and my family. So, I love it.
After your playing days were over, you went back to the Western Canadian Hockey League, where me and you both played in was it Swift Current?
I was in Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw?
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that experience and the high level of play that is in that Western Canadian Hockey League?
Yeah, it's I guess the Canadian Hockey League, which is the major junior level of hockey in Canada. It's tremendous. It really is. Year in and year out, I would say half of the first round, maybe 2/3 of the first round, comes from the Canadian Hockey League. Guys that played for me in Moose Jaw, I had Ryan Smith played there, Curtis Brown, Pavel Kabina, Roman Vopat, a number of guys that got drafted out of Moose Jaw to play in the NHL, and it's just kind of one step away. They'll go from playing there to playing in the minors for a year or two to the NHL. It's a real commitment. Those kids play 72 games a year. They're on the bus a lot. But they still have to go to school. We get back to Moose Jaw 2 o'clock in the morning. Those kids are at school at 8 o'clock in the morning. So there's a commitment there for them to get their education. And also in the Canadian Hockey League, the kids that don't sign a professional contract when they come out of school, or out of that league, pardon me, they'll get a year of books and tuition for every year that they played in the league. And it might even be better than that now. I'm not exactly sure what, but they've done a real good job of promoting that, and so the kids come out of there with a future, either in hockey or they get an education.
Like, obviously, the parents, that must be a tool for them when they're trying to make a decision whether to go to college or stay in that Western Hockey League, because the odds are stacked against them. Let's be honest. So if they are putting away some funds for an education, if they don't make it, obviously that's going to make the parents feel a lot better.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. It's like it's a scholarship is what it is, and then they leave that league and they've got a future. Whether it's in hockey or they can play hockey. They go to the Canadian college and they'll continue with their hockey, and they'll play at the CIAU level for 3, 4, or 5 years, whatever it takes, and they'll get an education. It's a tremendous opportunity for kids. It really is, and as well as I do, you're playing junior hockey, you have a good time. Like you got 20 buddies every day. You go to the rink and it's a great time, and you mature. And you grow together, and I don't think there's any better way to spend your youth, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely. I know from my side, it was a little challenge for my parents to bring me up, let's put it that way. And I was fortunate enough, I didn't think at the time though, but I went to a hockey team and a coach that was very, very strict. And if it wasn't for him, shoot, I don't know if I'd made it to minor league pro, let alone the NHL. But that was obviously a great experience for me. I got friends I still go and see from junior hockey. I go fishing with them up in Flin Flon, and just like you, I mean, it's a great experience. It isn't for everybody because it's a little challenging sometimes. Flin Flon, our closest road trip was 600 miles to the closest team. So I used to tease all those guys in the OHA. Some of their trips were 45 minutes from one side of Toronto to the other. But when I first came to the NHL, there was only 10 or 12 American kids in the NHL. This would be 1973. And junior hockey was always a Canadian product. Mm-hmm. But obviously it's very prevalent in the United States right now. There's been numerous number one picks come out of American junior hockey. What are your thoughts on how they've maybe not caught up to the Canadians, but they're getting very close?
Well, I think they've caught up in a lot of ways. I really do. Like there's kids getting drafted out of California. Their home base is California, Texas, Florida. They don't always play there. They move up and play junior hockey in Portland or Seattle or Plymouth or wherever in Canada. But there are a lot of American kids, and some of the best players in the world are from the USA. They're I think they're considered there's Canada, there's the US, Russia, Sweden. They're all hockey powerhouses, and you talk about the USA in the same breath as you do those other nations now in regards to hockey, for sure.
Yeah, I think we've part of that is the USA hockey program, which their record is undeniable with their junior hockey teams. They've beaten Canada a couple of times. The women's hockey team, they're very, very close to Canada. And so I think USA Hockey, we have to give them kudos. They've done a heck of a job in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, they really have come along.
All right, thanks, Al. It's pleased to have you on the old Stache show today. And good luck to you and the Panthers in the future.
My pleasure, Stache. Thanks for having me, bud.
Al, did we get it all?
Yeah.